Whoever, not attaining serenity, is learned in words, is not learned. This is Buddhist Books Podcast, episode 230, Padmasambhava, part 14, in which we will continue reading the life and liberation of Padmasambhava. Last time we finished with Canto 25. So today we're going to begin with Canto 26. If you would like to start with Canto number 1, then click here, and there's the Padmasambhava playlist. You can start anywhere you'd like, really. And Editor Edward, if you would play some music, and the album cover of whatever he chose appeared somewhere on the screen, and the link is in the description below if you would like to hear that music by itself without me talking. Canto 26, The Entry into Religion under Ananda, disciple of the Bhagavat. Then, happening upon the bhiksus Sakya Maitri and Sakya Mitra, Padma asked, "Where are you two going?" They reply, "At the red rock cliff of the birds dwells the master Prabhati. We are going to him to ask him for the teachings." Padma decided to go with them, and thus he met the master Prabhati and asked to enter into religion with him. Quote, "In keeping with the observances, I beg you to teach me thoroughly the magic methods." End quote. To this the master replied, "I know the yoga tantras of the transcendental application, and if you wish to practice them, I will instruct you. But I am not one who can give ordination. That is Ananda, the disciple of the Bhagavat, who lives in the cave of the Asuras. If you wish to enter religion in keeping with the observances, go to him. Lacking investiture, an enchanter is not a vessel of such explanations, and the neophyte receives the advowson of the 5 ordinary powers." End quote. Then he taught the Tathagata Ugan Song Shyong Gyud and the Krobo Kams Gesum Urnam Gyal, the Mahajaya Yoga Karya, and the Paramita Laski Ertag Pai Gyud. The whole content of the Yoga Tantras was taught to Padma, and whatever he was taught, he assimilated. And he saw the faces of the gods of the 32 yogas. Then, in the wood male horse of the year, the monkey month, on the 8th day, he reached the cavern of the Asuras, where myriads of bhiksus were living. There he dreamed that as the sun went on its way in the sky, another rose. the whole sky was filled with voices and shining lights, some revealing themselves as Buddha bodies, while others were only appearances of light, and he dreamed of many other emanations. Then, on the 10th day, the day of the Anuradha stars, at midday, the seer and his 2 friends entered in religion and were initiated into the doctrine. The goddess of the earth gave saffron-colored monastic robes, and the Buddhas of the 10 directions of space gathered in the hither sky. Honor was paid to the Lord of Doctrine, Shakyaseng. Now, in Mahakasyap's willow shades, since the razor's edge was not sharp, 4 dakinis took it to whet it. And he, being now able to understand the dakini's speech, snatched away the blade and hurled it into the anterior sky. Then there appeared a stupa filled with blades, and as a bhikksu observing the rules of discipline, he conquered the 4 demons, as have done all the Buddhas. Heroes of awakening, hundreds and hundreds of thousands filled the interior, debating the precepts, and he received the name of Bodhisattva Sumitra. Of the history unabridged of the lives of the Guru of Udayana, Padmasambhava, this is the 26th canto, the entry into religion, sealed oaths. Canto 27. The exercise with Ananda in the interior and exterior vehicles. When the Dharma was being asked of Ananda and Kasyapa, after some time Sumitra asked this question, quote, "From among many great bhiksus, you were the personal attendant of the Bhagavat. For what purpose was this position urged on you?" Ananda answered, "Listen carefully. Peaceful am I on the world plane. It is a doctrine of peace that the Buddha has uttered. Shakyamuni spent 29 years in the palace, and in view of the Dharma, 6 years in austerities. Next, at Shravasti, there were 24 years with Legpe Karma. The bhiksu Legpe Karma knew by heart 12 volumes of the Sutranta, but without regard for the meaning, gave credit only to the words. The sage declared, quote, "Whoever, not attaining serenity, is learned in words, is not learned. Whoever is learned in the unchanging sense, this one is learned." End quote. Legpe Karma then turned against the Buddha. Quote, "You who are fitted out with the 32 auspicious signs and with the 8 minor marks of the sage, with your intuitive body, luminous and superior, I have served you in vain for 24 years, and I do not see in you as much perfection as in a grain of sesame. Whereas, deprived of the throne of the king Suddhodana, you are disgraced, useless, a vagabond. I, who am a scholar of the Dharma, do not have to serve an equal, end quote. Thus he spoke and withdrew by a league through the outer ravine. Munindra came to the diamond throne, and under the tree of awakening spoke with the roar of a lion. Quote, Kavai, Kavai, Kavai. Let all those of long life assemble, end quote. When the community had assembled, Legpe Karma became annoyed and left. Quote, Who of you will stay close by me? End quote, asked the Buddha. The Arhats bowed down with respect and put their right knees on the ground. Quote, We ask to serve you, end quote, they all said. But Lord Buddha revealed a somber countenance. Quote, Why would you wish to stay close to me? I am advanced in age, but not decrepit, end quote. The Ayusmats retired within themselves. Discerning with the eye of knowledge, the Arhats realized where the design of the Buddha was aiming. They could see that it was turning toward the bhiksu Purnasila, Ananda in parentheses. And the 500 Arhats said to Purnasila, quote, Hail, serve the sage, end quote. The Buddha said, quote, Ananda, it will be well, end quote. And he revealed the moon of his face and the brightness of his smile. Then I said, quote, If you need a disciple, even an unfit one, I beg that you give me 3 things: food, clothing, and other necessities. That you allocate to me these things that I ask, and that you do not give sermons without me. Let the very Holy One grant me these 3 things, end quote. The Buddha revealed on his face the full moon of his smile, and said 3 times, quote, With you, Ananda, it is well, end quote. And I, as the first question in the morning, asked, quote, What will happen to the bhiksu Legpe Karma, end quote. The Dharma personified, the Buddha declared, quote, This bhiksu Legpe Karma, who knows so many things, will have in 7 days completed his life, and will be reborn a prita in a flower garden, end quote. Whereupon I, Ananda, went to Legpe Karma, and I put into his ear the words of the Buddha. Legpe Karma fixed his attention on it, and thought, quote, Sometimes among his lies there are some truths. I must for 7 days observe modest ways, end quote. 6 days he sojourned in the same place and observed fasting, without taking any food at all. On the 7th day he arose, and in the evening, as his mouth was dry, he drank some water which he did not digest, and the time of his life was completed. In the morning, I, Ananda, came to see, and of such a fate I had knowledge. Next, he reappeared in a flower garden, in the form of a great preta, the sight of which one could not bear. He was seated with his back to where the Buddha was sitting, despising the Dharma, and stopping up his ears with his hands. These are the circumstances through which I became a servant of the Master. Legpe Karma was for 24 years, and I, Ananda, for 21. Was such for 24 years, and I, Ananda, for 21. Munira, from the time he was 35, up to the beginning of the year of the male iron dog, turned the wheel of the Dharma as it never had been turned before. On the diamond throne and at Benares, he turned the first wheel in 5 good parts, suppressing all suffering, a true path. When 7 years minus 2 months had passed, the 4 truths repeated and developed, he stated the 12 fundamental factors of cause. He taught the sutras of Legs Nyes Bastan and Karma Sataka, the Karma Vibhanga, and the Las Urnam Thag, the Las Ki Mam Smin Bastan Pa, the Sutra of Purna Pramukha Avana Sataka, and the Brahmze Tchog Ki Mado were also taught, as were the Drin Las Hasab Pas Mado, the Dhammamuka, and the Dran Nair Gishag, or Gishag, I'm not sure, as aids to subdue suffering and desire. He taught the Vinaya Vastu, the Vinaya Vibhanga, the Vinaya Uttara Grantha, and the Vinaya Kasudraka Vastu, which were the 4 basic texts. In order to lead beings by the small vehicle, he expounded numerous teachings. He taught the Urtsa Bai Long, the Pratimaksa Sutra, the Bhikshuni Pratimoksha Sutra, and many others. Rejecting and barring suffering, teaching the 6 perceptions and the 8 stages of saintliness, the egolessness of person, and the egolessness of Dharma, understanding the changes. Thus he caused the turning of the wheel of the Dharma, which obtains as a fruit the state of the Arhat. Then it was the middle wheel. From the year of the male fire dragon to that of the wooden heifer in the land of Magadha, to Rajagra, probably Rajgir, and to the peak of the vultures, with a following of heroes of the awakening, Maitreya, Avalokitesvara, and others, speaking to 5,000 bhikshus, Subhuti, and others. For 10 years he preached the Dharma of signlessness as aids to subdue suffering and hate. He declared in 3 presentations the sutras of absolute meaning. He taught the Sahasrika, the Pankhavimasatisahasrika, the Astadasasahasrika, the Dasasahasrika, and the Asta Sahasrika, Prajnaparamitas, the stanzas including the Prajnaparamita, or Prajnaparamita, the Matraka sextuple, the Suvi Kranta. It's a shame these don't have like English translations that they could listen. The Suvi Kranta Vikrami Pari Percha, Pranya Paramita, the Pankasata Pranya Paramita. Different types of Pranya Paramita, Heart of Great Wisdom Sutra. The Vajra Chedika, the Arya Bhagavati, Prajnaparamita, Pankasika, the Sumku, the Sko Nair Linga, the Shesrab Sningpo, the Yige Nyu Ngu, the Ika Aksari Mata Nama Sarva Tathagata, the Ratnakuta and the Duspa Buzhi, the Saptasatika, and 10 derivatives. Wow, I should see how many of those have been translated into English and add them to the queue. The Mother Scripture and 16 derivatives. Thus he expressed the Prajnaparamita, the Dharma of openness, the 8 sections of the Abhisamayalankara, and the Don Budun Ku, the 5 paths, 10 stages, and the 108 Grel Kang. These 8 groups wipe out suffering. One realizes the egolessness of dharmas and of persons, and he indicated that once the 10 stages have been accomplished, one obtains the essence body. He turns the final wheel in the land of Vaisali, from the year of the male fire tiger to that of the male earth tiger, to the abbey of Nalanda in Malaya, to Padmavati, to the abode of the gods and elsewhere. Speaking to the daughters of the gods, the Nagas and the Gandharvas, and to beings of high wisdom, heroes of the awakening, delivered ones, and others. For 13 years he made the wheel of Dharma turn in the teachings of the absolute meaning. He taught the Avatamsaka, the Ratnakuta, and the Lankavatara Sutra. The Samdi Nirmo Kanam and the Lion Voice of Srimala, and just as much in the Central Park as in the 108 previous abodes. He taught the sutras of the Padma Dekarpo, the Gusser Od Dampa, and the Parinirvana Sutra. He also taught the Byam-dzu and various teachings of the Abhidharma. Residing in the sphere of living beings, he taught of the Tathagata Garbha. The 4th wheel was in Malaya, at the willow cradles, and at the peak where lightning strikes. On a question asked by Sakra, Lord of the Gods, he caused the wheel of Dharma, of the exterior tantras, and of the ritual to turn. He uttered the Rigs Sngags Kungi Kagdu Dipung Hazang Urgyud. The Rig Sngags Log Na Urdo Urje Dong Husker Urgyud, the Rig Sngags Gusal Hu Rigpa Machog Gi Urgyud, the Rig Sngags Dulba Sidi Kara E Urgyud, the Rig Sngags Prinlas Kams Gusum Urnam Urgyal Urgyud, the Rig Sngags Dagongs Pa Hassam Gatan Fi Mai Urgyul, the Jam Depal Urtsa Urgyud, and the Urdo Urje Mi Gyur Urgyud, the Don Yod Zogs, Pa, Erdo, Erje, Ernam, Jones, Ergyud. The Gutum, Chen, Mi, Gyo, Ha, Yi, Ergyud, and so forth. Of the Kriya, he taught the Sude Drug and the Ulde Olga and others. In Tusita, he explained the four Upadesas, the Jam Depal, Yeshe, Sem Depa, Dri, Med, Ergyud, the Jam Depal, Ernon, Po, Dri, Ma, Med, Pai, Ergyud, the Jam Depal, Draha, Gkod, Dong, Gesang, Brian? Excuse me, no, that's Bertan. The T looked like an I. Ergyud. I learned there are consequences toward mistaking T's for I's. Anyway, he delivered those to his following on the plane of desire and on the plane of essence. At the Nairanjana, at Akanista and elsewhere, he delivered the Tattva Samasa, the Sapal Machog Dangpo, the Erdo Erje Ertsemo, and the Nagan Song Xiong Hai Ergyud. From the year of the female earth hare to that of the wood bird, for 7 years in this way, he delivered the exterior formulas. As for the diamond vehicle, esoteric and supreme, having predicted that Vajrapani would set it forth, he did not present a word of it, indicating only the difference in teachings. For two masters do not appear in the same country, on the same diamond throne, for a single teaching. That they should appear would be impossible. The teaching of the Muni would change. In order to help subdue suffering and desire, he explained in 21,000 points the basket of Vinaya. In order to help subdue suffering and hate, he explained the 21,000 points of the basket of sutras. And as an aid to subdue suffering and error, he explained in 21,000 points the basket of Abhidharma. As an aid to subdue the 3 times equally, he explained the 21,000 points, in 21,000 points, the basket of formulas, a 4th basket. A quad pitaka. If one collects the 84,000 texts of the Dharma into 12 Dharma pravakanas, the Gayas, the Sutras, the Vyakaranas, the Gathas, the Udanas, the Nidanas, the Avadanas, the Jatakas, the Vaipulyas, the Abhutadharmas, the Apadesas, and the Ityuktas. Their collection composes the discipline, the sutras, and the metaphysics. For 82 years he made the wheel of the Dharma turn, and in the year of the wood bird, on the 8th day of the month of the male fire rat, at midnight, the silent one entered into parinirvana. Since then, the year of the male wood horse has passed 10 times. End quote. I forgot someone was talking. When these words were spoken, Sumitra was satisfied. For 5 years, day and night, applying himself to the utmost, he blended together the instructions of the sutras and the mantras. He examined closely, evaluating them, the series of successive steps. In the 3 characteristics of perfection, he reflected on the concise meaning of the long texts by means of the eternal formulas and those which are esoteric and of great meaning in their conciseness. He knew how to wish and to obtain, attaching the spiritual chain of perfect effort, but he knew not at all how to perceive the meaning of the inferior mind. The focused teachings of the truth are impure in that they still contain obstructions to omniscience. The absolute essence has of itself always been empty. Such is the gnosis. And he thought that one must look for a sublime doctrine. Of the history unabridged of the lives of the Guru of Udayana, Padmasambhava, this is the 27th canto, the exercise with Ananda in the internal and external vehicles. Sealed Odes. Wow, that was quite a mouthful for today. Normally, there's more English and less transliterated Sanskrit, I assume. One thought that came to mind that I wanted to share with you is that this epic poem written by Yeshe Tsogyal, they say, translated into English for us, through which we can connect with and learn more deeply about the second Buddha, Padmasambhava, Guru Rinpoche. Talks about the time he spent learning the basics. And you might have noticed, if you're watching the video version of this, that I was pointing at the books behind me because as he was listing off the different Vinaya, the Vinaya, Pitaka, and so on, that's what's behind me. And you might notice that there are a couple months between Padmasambhava Part 13 and today's episode, Part 14. During those couple months, I have been doing little else besides reading those teachings that he was learning in the story. In the story, Padmasambhava, who you tuned in today because you're interested in him, if you want to follow in his footsteps, even just a bit, just a little bit in his footsteps, so that you can say, Padmasambhava and I both know these teachings. We both know all the shenanigans that the Venerable Udayin got involved with. We both know why Upananda was on probation, and when the group of 6 monks were teasing him at dinner one day and embarrassing him in front of lay people, why was he so embarrassed? You and Padmasambhava will both know the answer to these questions that probably aren't that important, and they, as was said, is knowing the words without the serenity isn't going to get you there. But if you want to know the words, then do please feel free to check out the Tipitaka playlist here on Buddhist Books Podcast, in which I recite all these books. Actually, so far we're up to book 3, but we're on our way. Book 3, there's 6 of the discipline, and then we're going to get into the actual teachings. But right now we're learning the rules, which it's more interesting than it sounds, because it's not just, don't do this, do this. If you do this, you get punished like this. It's not like that. Lord Buddha was intelligent enough that he didn't just list off the rules. When Ananda came and said, please give us the rules so that our order may last a long time, because first he said, how can we make sure the order lasts a long time? And he said, well, we have to have a lot of rules and have the monks repeat the rules every, on the half month, on the 15th day of the half month. It's very important, and in that original Sangha. And he said, well, give us the rules. And he said, not like that. We'll just go about our business, and issues will come up, and then the rule will be established, and we will chant and remember and pass on the knowledge of the story of how that rule came to be. So there's actually a scenario, a story, often a particular monk or nun involved, or a group, several, or an interaction, or various things that happen. Sometimes these really intense, dramatic things happen, and then the rule that ends up being established is just kind of about the last thing that happened. And then it's like, well, what was the point of this story? And it's like, well, it was to entertain you while you're learning the rules. So, don't be put off by the fact that it's the discipline basket. I will say that it is 2,600 years old, so by our standards today, some of it is, you might say, a little old-fashioned in various ways. But I'm enjoying reading it and learning it most of the time. And so I would invite you to do the same. And if not, then I will see you next time for part 15 of the Life and Liberation of Padmasambhava, in which we will read Canto 28 and perhaps 29. And we'll see how it goes. For now, I will close with the usual closing that we do here on Buddhist Books Podcast, which was taught to me by my father when I was very young. To the north and to the south, to the east and to the west, to the spirits of light among us and to the spirits below, we send out our reverent love and compassion. May all beings be happy. May all beings be serene. May all beings be in peace. Until next time.